Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. For those of you where it is still Wednesday, and for the rest of you, well, happy Thursday. I'm Tawana Carter. I'm Dr. Tawana Carter, and I am a career transition coach. For those of you who don't know me, and today I'm going to be talking with you about ways that you can handle that fear of not being good enough when your job search is going on a little bit longer than you wanted it to. Thank you for being here. And if you would, those of you that could hear me, drop here in the comments and then let me know where you are hopping on from, right? I am normally coming to you from Maryland, the great state of Maryland, but today I am sitting in Alabama, actually at my home in Alabama. I've been here for, it's almost a month, not quite a month, but almost, right? So I do welcome your comments and your questions. Love, love, love to have you on board. For those of you watching me on LinkedIn, thank you, thank you, thank you. I do appreciate that. For those of you that are catching me on Facebook, thank you as well. I appreciate that. And for those of you who are seeing this on YouTube, you are most welcome as well. And for all of you that catch this on a replay, thank you for catching this on a replay and drop hashtag replay and let me know that you caught this on the replay here. So I have a listener from Jacksonville, Florida. Arkansas, how cool is that? Dr. Kimbra, thanks for joining. So I'm going to pop over and take a peek at Facebook so I can see who my Facebook user is. I'll call your name out. But you can click the little link at the bottom down there and it will allow, your name will show. Otherwise, you'll just show as Facebook user. Thanks and welcome from Jacksonville, Florida. Oh, Tiana's here from Washington State. That's the furthest way away. How cool is that? Yolanda is in California. Welcome, 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 ladies. Thanks for being here. And for those of you who don't know me, Priscilla is right around the corner in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm down in Helena today, Priscilla. Yeah, how cool is that? So, for those of you who don't know me, I said I'm Dr. Tawana Carter, and I help high achieving professional women overcome that fear and doubt that can come along with transitioning to a new career. And I help them do that by helping them to recognize and communicate, because if you can't communicate, it doesn't matter. I help them by recognizing and communicating their unique value and by instilling a decent of belief in their own strengths and abilities so they can courageously and confidently create success on their own terms and land the job of their dreams, right? And so, again, I am here today talking about how to handle those feelings of I'm not good enough when you're looking for a job, especially if you've been looking for a while. I think the longest period I looked for a new job was about 2 years. Yes, you can, all kinds of things start coming up, right? Anybody out here got me beat on 2 years? About a little over 2 years. That's how long it's taken me to find another job. Obviously, I was in a job, but I wanted out, and that process took me 2 years. And so all kinds of things come up, all kinds of emotions can come up when you're looking for a job that long. So that's how come this one is near and dear to my heart, because I've been here, right? Um, I remember when I got out of the military, I went on terminal leave in like January of 1994, and I didn't land a job. I didn't actually start a job until August 1994. It's the longest period up to that point that I had been unemployed. And I got to tell you, it starts to work. It starts to work. And that's why, I wanted to do this topic about how to handle those feelings when you don't feel good enough, right? Because pretty much at some point, everybody feels insecure, either by doing your job performance. We typically do at some point. It doesn't always last, but we feel that way, right? You know, but oftentimes when you're working a job, there are typically things that you can do. You can ask a coworker, you can work a little harder, spend more time practicing, take some courses, get some mentoring, get some job coaching. We typically feel like, for the most part, We can do something about being insecure about that job. But the process of job searching is a little different, right? You do the resume, whether you do it yourself or you hire a career coach to help you, right? And then you have to be able to recognize again your unique value. You got to be able to communicate your unique value. Then you go and you fill out the application, you go through the process, all of that, and then you wait for someone to pass judgment on you. Okay, that's what it feels like. Actually, it's not. Feeling like someone is passing judgment on us, so is a mindset issue. It's not really, because in totality, they're not passing judgment on you. They don't know you, right? They're looking at your skill sets and seeing if those are matched, but that doesn't represent you in totality. It's only a part of you, right? It is the us that the resume or the application represents, but it's not in totality you. So yes, it can feel like you're getting judgment passed on you, but that's not quite true, right? It's kind of like online dating. Swipe left, swipe right. And I don't know which one you like and which one you don't, or swipe up or swipe down. Yeah, they're not choosing you, but they can't judge you in your totality because they don't know you. For the most part, you might run across somebody who knows you and they might swipe, oh, I know her, I know him. Ooh, no, not going there. But for the most part, no. People are swiping based on a representation of you. That picture is a representation of you. Some of the things you've written down in your bio or whatever they call it, it's a representation of you, but it's not you. They can't judge your personality in totality. They don't know your experiences in totality. They don't understand your education. Some folks have all those grammatical errors, and some of us feel a little different about that. Oh, that might be a little different, but hey, engineers have always been known for not spelling accurately. They don't need you. They talk in phonetics, right? And so even that does not represent who you are, right? However, here's the truth. Let's just face it, the longer the job search goes on, or as those rejections start to pile up, the more you begin to feel like you're being judged and you're found lacking, and you start to feel you're not good enough. That's just the truth of the matter. It's human nature, is how we feel, right? And that not feeling good enough is actually linked to fear. I don't talk about it. It's like, what do you mean it's linked to fear? No, it's not. I'm just afraid somebody's not going to hire me. I'm feeling bad because they rejected me. Well, yeah, it's still fear based. All of that's fear based. Some examples. Well, you're putting yourself out to unknown people looking at your stuff and saying either you match or you don't. That's fearful. It feels fearful if people don't necessarily like your stuff, right? Then there's a fear of, well, what if I land a job with less pay? Fear. Or I could end up with a worse boss than what I've got. Fear. Or the commute could be worse than what it is now. Fear. I may not learn that job fast enough and people are going to think I'm stupid. Fear. Okay. Um, what if nobody on the entire of earth chooses me for a job? People are going to laugh at me. I'll be sitting unemployed and everybody be pointing a finger. That's the person right there can never get hired. Fear. Typically, that's not true, but listen, that's where our thoughts will take us, right? Oh, maybe my new coworkers won't even like me. Fear. Right? Maybe this new position will be way more responsibility than I can handle or that I want. Fear. Maybe there's no promotion potential in that new job. Fear. Everybody's going to look at me and think I'm a loser. Fear. I'm not smart enough. Fear. I don't have enough experience to get. Fear. Maybe I should just stay right here because nobody else is even going to recognize my value. Fear, fear, fear. Maybe my abilities don't line up. Fear, fear, fear. All of that is based in fear. So, in the course of a job search, you may find yourself facing all of these, or one of these, or something totally different that prevents you from thinking that you will be successful at getting hired to the new job. The longer that stretches on, the more we feel I'm not good enough. That's the way it happens. And then what's worse is this: the more you fear these things about this job you're trying to find, It can trigger the old fears that are lying just beneath the surface that were buried for years, right? Like you start going down this road of all the other times that you lack confidence, or, I wasn't chosen for that basketball team, or I wasn't chosen for the cheerleading squad, or I wasn't chosen for the soccer team. We start going down that road. You know, that cute guy or that cute girl, they broke up with me, or they didn't like me, or they dumped me. And then it's like off to the races, all the fears you've ever felt, all the times you not felt good enough, and now you actually feel worse than what you did before you started job searching. A lot of people will get to that point and go, see, I'm not going anywhere. I should never have started this process. Really, this is a great time. This is a great time for you to do some introspection and label and identify the areas of the fears that you have. You need to know it, because guess what? If you don't, all that negative energy surrounding that fear becomes a part of you, and it shows up in ways you don't want it to. For instance, the applications that you fill out, or the ones that you don't, because you look and go, I'm never going to get this job. And so you bypass it. You may actually fit all the qualities that they're looking for, but you go, I'm just not going. How many, be honest here, how many people have looked at a job application and just went, oh, I'm never going to need this, and just swiped and kept going? Shut down the computer, did something else, and kept going. I have, so I'm gonna start this off by putting, yep, I sure have. I've done that. I'm gonna put a yes in the chat, because I have done that. Absolutely, I've done it. I have done it. I had a job, as a matter of fact, that I looked at it and said, nope, I'll never be here, and bypassed it and went back to working on my compass. And I had a friend say, hey, Tawana, did you see this position? I was like, yeah, I don't qualify for that. He said, yes, you do. She's like, no, 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 you don't disqualify yourself. You apply for everything and let them tell you you're not qualified. This job is for you. It fits everything you have. Apply for the job. Out of 200 candidates, I was chosen the top three and got the job. I first looked at that job and said, nope, not for me. And by that point, I've been looking for like a year and a half for another job. So fear shows up. We start doubting ourselves. We start judging ourselves. I'm not worthy enough for this. I don't qualify for that. And if you do get an interview, that negative energy goes into the interview. That is what people feel from you, emanating from you. If you don't believe energy, think about this. You can blindfold someone and send them into two different locker rooms. You can send them in a team that won, and they don't have to say anything. You will know from the energy in the room which team won. Conversely, you can go over to the locker room when a team lost, and they don't have to say anything, but you will, by feeling in the energy in that room, know who lost. And so when you bring negative energy with you to an interview, they feel it. They feel it, right? And so that is why you do want to manage that negative energy. So my Facebook user says, I have not even tried lately, but I want to start looking next year. Not just for any job, but for something I can do on my own as a counselor. Absolutely, totally hear you there. You know, um, yes. So let's see. That is gotcha. So I can totally understand that, because we have worked together. I'm not gonna call your name. It's not showing on, on the link. So if it's okay for me to say your name, just drop okay, and I'll say that. But absolutely, quite about 75% of my clients who come to me, most of them are looking for a job, a promotion somewhere else. 75% of them do end up dropping the paperwork and becoming entrepreneurs. Because once I do the confidence coaching, helping you understand your value, it lifts your confidence, and you understand it's like no stopping you now. So absolutely, I totally get that. And so, okay, so Priscilla says it's okay for me to say her name. So we've actually spoken before. Look, it's time for you to roll. We spoke about this a number of years ago. It's time. I'm telling you now, it's time. It's your time, right? So let's keep going here, because I could get lost and get talking and stuff. And so basically, what happens is your fears are often based on upper limiting beliefs, right? And when we hang out there, we've been looking for a while and we've got several rejections and nobody's calling us back, that fear will come rushing at you, right? It's like whoosh. Those upper limiting beliefs start rushing at you as well because you're uncomfortable during this time. We really don't, sometimes we don't know where we stand when we're looking for a job. I've got the interviewing down packed, I've got this, I got the resume, but I'm not getting the calls or I'm not getting the job. So it's uncomfortable, and those upper limiting beliefs, they start bubbling up because guess what? They were already there before you looked for a job. They're already there, right? So Gay Hendricks talks about four upper limiting beliefs, four categories, right? So I'm going to share those with you, and I'm going to pop these in the chat as well because I want you to have these, right? These four upper limiting beliefs. And those are, number one is feeling fundamentally flawed. This is that feeling deep down inside that I'm not as good as everybody else. There's something wrong with me. And for me, I always felt that because we grew up poor, there was something fundamentally wrong with me. So I wasn't quite as smart as someone else's parents who had money. I never quite knew enough and I was never quite good enough. So I felt like just me being me, I was fundamentally flawed. That's an upper limiting belief that affects how you go after career transitions or to get any job. Number two is disloyalty and abandonment. Some of us get this when we're told like you don't outshine people, you don't make people look good, you want to tamp it down, you don't want to make anybody else look bad because you're so successful or you're so smart or you're so this. So we kind of believe that, well, if I try for a better job, I feel like I'm being disloyal and abandoning families or I'm abandoning friends. I had a client that would not, she was applying for jobs but didn't quite feel like she should pursue or didn't pursue as well because she felt like she was abandoning her direct reports. She's like, I can't leave them, right? And the thing is, this is she came to me for coaching. Once she dropped her resignation, both of her direct reports got jobs elsewhere. It's like literally she said, here's my resignation, I'm out. One of them got like a $50,000 raise, one of them got like a 16K raise, right? She thought she was abandoning them, but then they felt they were abandoning her. So there goes that upper limiting belief, disloyalty and abandonment, right? So number three is believing that success brings a bigger burden. I kind of talked about that. What if this new job has way more responsibility than I have? And folks that are applying for promotions or leaving from being an employee and going into management or being a leader will often have this. It's like, oh, I can't do that. It's going to be way more than I can handle. It's success always brings more energy. It brings more responsibility. I can't do that. That's an upper limiting belief. And then the fourth one is the crime of outshining. And again, that goes to, you're some families do this. One child is a pretty one, the other child is a smart one, right? Sometimes that smart child is told you don't outshine everybody else. Sometimes the pretty one is told you don't make anybody else feel bad because you got all the pretty genes. Those beliefs, whether they're directly or indirectly given to us, they follow us into adulthood and become limiting beliefs. So when you start looking at your fears of why you feel fear you're not good enough, trace it back to one of these upper limiting beliefs. Or if you're like me, I'm a little special. I have two of these. I actually have two of these upper limiting beliefs that I had to work through to get to where I am now, right? So you can be special like me and have two, or you can just have one, right? Anybody out there are familiar with these upper limiting beliefs? If you have not already, read the book. It's The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and he really does a great job. He broke down these four categories, but he goes along and teaches you about each one. The Big Leap is a really, really good read. I'm going to drop that in the chat as well because it is such a good read when if you are saddled with limits of beliefs and mindset issues. Wonderful book. It's a wonderful book to read. Okay. So really it's like, so what do I do with this? I know I got to label my fears. I know I got to, identify my upper limiting beliefs. What do I do? But that's why you're here, right? That's why you're here because at the end of the day, job searching is a risk, right? You're putting yourself out there. You're risking being said no, or you're putting yourself out there and you're taking a risk that yeah, it's a maybe or it's a yes. it feels like a risk, right? Anybody out there working risk management or used to working risk management, we're talking about there are four strategies that we use to mitigate risk. Anybody out there uh, familiar with risk mitigating risk? I want to see if anybody out there knows the four strategies that we use to mitigate risk. Anybody out there? We'll take a look out here. Let's see. Let me go to LinkedIn and see if anybody knows it. All right. Looking for the four strategies that you can use to mitigate risk. This is for my risk managers in the group, especially if you're a project manager. I know you know this. And anybody working on projects, I know you know this one, right? Right. Because that's where I got part of it is um, being a project manager, a federal project manager when I was with the federal government. All right, so I'm not seeing any answers out there for the four risks. Let me check on YouTube, looking for the four strategies we use to mitigate risk. All right, I'm gonna talk about them one by one because that means I don't have any takers out there, so y'all need to hear these. There are four strategies that you use in project management, not just project management. We use the same risk strategies on different jobs and whatnot. The first one is avoid. You can avoid the risk altogether. Second strategy is to accept. You accept the risk and you go and you plan these strategies. You're accepting the risk, but you can plan those strategies to still be sure you're okay. The project's okay. You can reduce or control the risk. So reduce and or control it. And then you can shift or transfer the risk. So does that sound familiar? Anybody remembering those four strategies of how we mitigate risk? So we're going to talk about how you mitigate fear because we talked about the fact that all the fears you have, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not tall enough, not big enough, not thin enough, not fat enough. All those are fears, right? So we're going to talk about how to mitigate fear using the framework, the labels, the categories of risk mitigation. So number one, how do we mitigate fear? You can, number one, avoid. That's the first one, right? You can avoid all of this altogether. Don't apply for any jobs. Go ahead and miss all the opportunities because of fear. Stay stuck exactly where you are. Maybe not getting promotions, maybe not getting raises, maybe just hanging on to that miserable boss or the miserable coworkers or that long commute that you were trying to mitigate. Stay right there. Now, it's an option. You may be miserable, you may not enjoy it, you may not exactly be happy, but that is an option. You can avoid the whole job thing at all costs. Just stay exactly where you are. That's a risk strategy, right? So if that's kind of not sitting with you, like anybody out there want to avoid, let's see how many answers we got out there. I'm going to avoid period.com. I'm going to wait for some answers there. So if that doesn't sit quite well with you, then understanding that you are automatically choosing to take a risk, you're taking the risks that come with job searching. That's choice. Oftentimes, fear comes because we feel like we have no control. Here, you have a choice. You can choose to avoid all the risk and stay exactly where you are, no raise, no promotions, no anything else. Or you can go ahead and take the risks that come with job searching. It's a choice. You control the choice. So, number one, you have control. You're choosing to accept the risk if you want to go on. You can go on to strategy number two, and that is accept. In risk management, when you accept the risk, you look out, you see all the things that could possibly happen. You can look at and kind of predict what could go wrong and what may go wrong. It's not saying that it will, it's just saying that it could. But you also monitor when we talk about accepting risk. You monitor so you know the early warning signs to catch things so you can catch things before the train runs off the rails, so to speak, right? So, in other words, even though you accept the risk, you prepare ahead of time. So, what am I saying? You can prepare ahead of time before fear actually kicks in and you get in that job search rut of I'm not good enough. All right. So, what do? You can create a job search plan or a guide. I like to sometimes say a guide because some people think if it's a plan, I got to do exactly what the plan says do. Well, depending on the outcomes, you may need to shift a little bit. So look at it as a guide, right? You apply for this job, you ask for feedback, and they said this. Well, now you may need to shift that job plan just a little bit and incorporate the new feedback you got, right? You can identify the mind traps, right, that you need to avoid instead of falling prey to the mind traps. You know that after a few rejections that it just gets to you. So what are you going to do? Here's what I need to do to avoid the mind trap that they're rejecting me. They're choosing another candidate. They didn't go with me. It doesn't mean that's the end of the world. Whatever you need to do to identify those mind traps to avoid falling to the rut of I'm not good enough, right? So some strategies that you can use to prevent fear. There is meditation, right? There's mindfulness. There's exercising to keep that brain flowing free and clear. There's a mindset work you can do. I already told you how to identify your limits, upper limiting beliefs. Do the mindset work so you can mitigate that. There are motivational interviews, right? You can get up every morning. The ladies in my Women on the Mission group, anytime, I believe in coaching folks, but I don't like to just drop you. So all my ladies go into I call it the Women on the Mission group. So I'm sending them motivational interviews. They only have to look for videos. They only have to look for them. Just popping it in their mailbox just to keep them motivated and going, right? You can read books. A great book is The Miracle Morning, The Not So Obvious Secret Guaranteed to Transform Your Life before 8 a.m. It's a mindset book. Whether or not you need to be transformed before 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever it is still a mindset. It is a great book on mindset by Hal Elrod, right? Also, self care. Don't let self care go to the wayside. You need to do the self care. Maintain connection with your circle of support. Be sure because isolation escalates feelings of fear or feelings of rejection or feelings of fear of failure. Isolation personifies it. But if you stay in connection with your circle of support, you can downsize it and really look at it as reality. I didn't get this one next. Didn't get that one next, right? And understand that we do move towards pleasure and away from pain. And so if you don't mitigate the fear, you will look at the whole job search process fear and you will move away from it because we move away from pain and towards pleasure. All right. So some of these things are really meant to mitigate the rejection and the fear that I'll never get a job if right? Anybody else out there feel like you felt that before? I did. I'd be honest with you. It was 2.5 years before I found that job. And it just felt like, how can I not? How can I not get this job? I know I qualify for it. There are a lot of mitigating circumstances of which you're not aware. Oftentimes, what you're not aware when you're applying for jobs is they already had somebody in mind for the job. Advertising was just like protocol. It was just like GP. We had to advertise it, but we already know who we want for this job. So that's why it's so important to manage your fears, right? Mitigate your fears. So let's go on to strategy number 3, where you reduce and or control. So in risk management, you can reduce the possibility of a risk by taking certain actions and precautions. For you in job searching, you'll want to be sure that you exercise that muscle memory by practicing interviews, being sure you either hire a coach to help with your resume, pay someone to do it. I do this for a living. I help people do resumes for a living. But when I was looking for a job, I hired someone else to do my resume because I was too picky and I would just stress about the nth power of anything. So I had somebody to do my resume. And I actually did resumes for folks. And people got hired. They got 10K raises. They got 15K raises when I did their resumes. But when it came to mine, I let somebody else do it. So definitely hire someone to do your resume, right? And there are folks out there who will do resume reviews for free. Okay. So have someone else lay eyeballs on your resume. And then after you do an interview, do what we used to call in the military after action reviews. After every interview review, come back and deconstruct it. What went well? What didn't you like? What did you notice when people were answering questions? What were their facial features? How were they looking? Were they engaged or were they sitting there looking at you, right? Look at all that stuff. You need to process that stuff, right? That is what I do with my ladies. When they have an interview, we come back deconstructed. What did you like? What didn't you like? What questions did they ask? How did you answer? How do you want to prove it? Going through all that develops muscle memory. So the next time you ask that question or the next time you see a certain facial, because some of us are sensitive. So someone says, am I taking new clients? Absolutely. I am taking new clients, and I will pop. What I do is I offer a free strategy session. I do that for everybody coming in. It helps. It gives you the chance to experience a little bit of coaching from me, and then it helps me to see if we are a great match. So I am taking new clients, and I will pop that link there for you. But absolutely, this is what I do for my clients because you need to deconstruct the interview. The more you deconstruct it, the better that you get at it, right? And you start it's memory muscle, right? And I coach my clients like have your interview stories. You should have like 4 or 5 stories. Once you know those stories, you know how to answer all the questions. They can pop any question at you, any question. Doesn't matter because you've practiced over and over and you get it. What is developing? Why is developing a memory muscle important? Because when you understand, I tell you this, right? There are 50 basic interview questions. And what I have my clients do is go down and answer all 50 using the interview story format and using the format, right? So I did that. I sat in this interview and they asked the question, you're so welcome. They asked me a question and I immediately went, oh my God, I know the answer to that question. That's what in my mind I said that, I was kind of like this. So there was like this confidence that came over me like, ooh, I got this one. I don't know what other questions they're going to ask me, but I got this one. What happened then? My nerves fell away and my natural authentic personality came across to the interviewers and I got the job, by the way, because my natural personality came across, that authentic me, and I lit up because it's like I got the answer to this question. That's what I mean by developing muscle memory. You practice it until it's second nature. You can also do visualizations. Visualize yourself sitting in an interview with your ideal company for the ideal job. Imagine yourself, visualize you going through that interview and nailing it, right? A lot of people like, wow, is Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson so, they won all those championships. Part of it was they use visualizations. And I do that also with my clients. I use visualization because it works. You're practicing muscle memory. My kids also played in a band, and their band director, Pelham High School, will have them airplay. They will put the instrument down and literally practice songs airplaying. Why? Because you're building the memory. You're producing those, you're strengthening those neural pathways in the brain so that when you pick up the instrument and you're literally playing, muscle memory. It's already built, right? And so some other things that you can do, make a schedule for how long you're looking for a job, how many you're looking for. Because sometimes we'll sit down at the laptop saying we're applying for jobs and we look at TikTok, we look at Facebook, we look at Instagram, we scroll on Twitter, and then the next thing we know, 4 hours is gone by. Oh, I just spent 4 hours job searching. Not really. You may have spent 20 minutes job searching, but everything else is social media. Track the time you're spending, what you're doing, where you're applying for those jobs, who's responded to you, how long do you need to follow up, how many times did you follow up, who emailed you back, who you spoke to. Track all of that stuff. It gives you a semblance of control, right? And it helps you to go along and be organized in your job search, right? So again, fear means we feel like we're not in control of the job search process. We're not in control of who hires us, and it kind of elevates the fear. But taking these steps helps you to stay organized and you know where you're putting your energies and what's new, right? You want to have an open mind too. I got a treat for you next week, so I won't go too far into that one, but I got some really good treats for you. So the last strategy here is transfer or shift. So in risk management, we often talk about when we're shifting right risk, we want to shift it to the other organization so it takes the risk off of us. In this case, when you're job searching, of course, you're taking on that risk, but how can you share that risk with others? You can do that by always be networking. I tell my clients, always, always, always be networking, be growing your network, expanding that network, reaching out to new people, following up with new people, providing them value, right? You always want to be networking because instead of just you looking for a job, if you've got 50 people in your network, now you've got 50 other people helping you. You're transferring some of the risk and others are helping you look for the job. And if those 50 people each know 2 other people, Now you've got 100 people, right? 150 people helping you look for a job, transferring or shifting the risk. Ultimately, it's your responsibility to get the job, but it feels pretty darn nice for a friend or somebody to call you back and say, hey, you should look at this job. I've gotten several jobs like that because I didn't see. It was like, hey, Tawana, did you see this? And I applied for the job and got it because my network was helping me to look for a job. That's an easy way to shift or transfer risk, right? And you're shifting fear instead of like, oh my God. So if Facebook uses this time to shift, absolutely, absolutely. I cannot, and I call people up now. Some folks look at engaging in the net in your network, keeping in touch. That's a way to keep in touch. If you see things like this and you think somebody may be interested, or you can say, hey, someone in your network looking for a job, we're hiring for this. Send that out and have all those people looking, right? Wonderful way. So, what you can also do is not just your network, but look at taking courses, especially when you go in for an interview, you ask for feedback and they say, yep, we were looking for someone with just this little piece and that's the only thing you were missing. Well, don't feel bad about it like you're not good enough. Go take the course on it. Don't go do some job shouting. Take some training on it. And some other things that you can look at that are helpful when you're shifting, right? Shifting the fear. Look at your professional organizations, and I belong to several. Some of you know that I'm also a licensed counselor as well as a certified health coach, and so I belong to all these state organizations: Virginia, Maryland, Alabama. I belong to those organizations. International Coaching Federation. Those they often will give jobs, or you can network with people as well. Don't sleep on volunteering. You can meet great people volunteering. Again, expanding that network. Also, don't forget if you are a member of a sorority or fraternity, boom, there it is right there. College networks. Go back to your college. Join your college association. I know I had a gentleman that reached out to me for an information interview. He and I both went to the same college. I went many years ago, but still, I was happy to talk to him. I was happy to give him pointers, and other people will be happy to give you pointers as well. So, this all comes down to managing your feelings of not being good enough by using those risk management strategies. We just applying them to fear. You can avoid altogether, just stay where you are and be miserable, right? Or you can accept and take those steps, or you can reduce or control, or you can transfer or shift that fear into other folks and let other folks help you find jobs as well. We know that, or only about 20% of those jobs are going to show up on the job board. The rest of those jobs are in the hidden job market. It is done through networking. All right. So if this was helpful for you today, do like the video, comment, and let me know how you feel about it. Better yet, share it with a friend who's about in the same place and looking for help. Because I kid you not, I have searched for a job over 2 years and it kind of drags you down. But take these steps to avoid the fear that comes along with it. Now, as a gift, so she says, this is so good. Thank you for these nuggets of wisdom. So I'm not done. I'm not done with the nuggets. As a gift for staying to the end, because I think I'm a little bit longer today than I normally am, but that's okay. I hope you guys didn't mind. I want to gift you with my cheat sheet, 14 ways to boost your confidence, because our confidence takes a beating the longer we look for a job. So this is a cheat sheet that will give you 14 ways to boost it. It'll take you to my free resource website. You should be able to sign up for it. Many of you in my Facebook group are already on there. Go sign on it. You should be able to click free resources here. And then those 14 ways to boost your confidence is the top of those strategies. So meet me here next week. I told you how to treat for you. You won't want to miss this one next Wednesday. Same bad time, same bad place. I will be sharing with you my 15 strategies and tactics to help get you out of the job search rut. Meet me here. Do not miss it. All right. Any questions or comments out there before I sign off? I am so thankful to you all for being here today, and I hope this is helpful for you. Definitely, if you don't do anything else, get Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap. Identify your upper limiting belief, identify your fears so you can start mitigating, right? Just like we mitigate risk on a project, you can mitigate fear in your life, right? Take care, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.